anesthesia and the opportunities in that field.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I have fun doing research. I have a lot of fun doing research. So this first slide here, we've got about 100,000 data points. It's just black and white. And you've already done analytical thinking. And who is this person? Nessie. Right? So there's Nessie. She's looking pretty good. Then my analytical brain starts processing this slide. Well, if she should be swimming, there should be a wake. Right? There should be some concentric light, waveforms, etc. going out. And there are none. Well, maybe she's just hovering in the water, in the pectoral fins. There should be concentric rings around her neck. There's none. Well, maybe it's because she's just popped her head out of the water. Well, if that's true, shouldn't there be some water drops? So I've had fun with this slide, just showing you that we're all analytical and that we're very, very good at processing information. And so today, we do a lot of research projects, but I'm only interested in your research project. I want to teach you how to conduct a clinical research project, the nuts and bolts. Okay? Because once you get these 6 steps down, you can do any future research project. And that's the key. You got to learn how to ride a bicycle. And so many of you are here to support and improve the delivery of health care, but I've got to help you develop your approach. Of course, generation of manuscripts and quality assurance projects, which are now requirements in all residency training programs. Quality assurance projects are requirements. Most residency programs, it's a requirement for you to crank out a manuscript. And I want to give you the nuts and bolts in your time with us. So, over the course of 20 years or so, I've distilled it down to about 6 steps. And so, we meet 2 or 3 times and say, you know, Dr. Nossaman, I really want to do some research. I really don't know what to do. I'll say, what have you recently read? What are your interests? What specialty do you want to go into? Okay? I do a lot of work in perioperative care, perioperative medicine. And if nothing really pops up, then we'll pick something along those lines, okay? But if you found something that you really have an interest in, a clinical question, I'm here to help you make that a reality. Next step is literature review. 2 big processes. You got to know the language that is germane to the question. So when I'm talking about airway complications from endotracheal intubations, there are short-term and there are long-term. These are some of the language that in a particular research question. Or if we're having unplanned SICU admissions, which is a major cost problem for this institution. And so I've got a student right now who is an expert. She knows more about it than I do, about some of the etiologies of unplanned intensive care unit admissions. Well, once we get that information, we start developing our working hypothesis based upon what is known as the FINER principle. Is it feasible? Is it interesting? Is it novel? Ethical? Is it clinically relevant? Okay? So you may come to me and say, well, I really want to see what's the influence of, I don't know, color red on patients in the green ward. It's not going to be clinically relevant. I'll just kind of guide you away from that, okay? But I appreciate the enthusiasm. I appreciate the interest. Just a little redirection, okay? Then once we get that established, we'll sit down and play it out a few lines, etc., and submit it for IRB. Well, anytime you now touch a patient's chart, it better be due to direct clinical care or research. You can't touch a patient's medical record unless you have prior permission. Otherwise, it's a big HIPAA violation. Which means then you have to become city program certified. And it teaches us all about the bad trespasses that we made on patients in history. It's an excellent course. Okay? And I highly recommend that you cityprogram.org. Okay? But once you get that process done and you're registered, then we can go down this pathway of looking at patients' medical records. Data collection. Data collection can sometimes be onerous because we're going through patients' charts and picking out additional information that may not be able to be retrieved from IT. But our IT personnel are getting better and better with each iteration that I work with to help us to develop the structured query language, SQL, okay, computer programming, to allow us to pull information down. And once we get to a certain stage, then we can develop an intervention, if we want, to do what is known as a case report form. Case report forms are additional information that help us determine success or failure of your research question. Then into data analysis. Well, I really enjoy doing statistics. I have a lot of fun with it because I do believe that's the message, the skill set that all of you in this room should have. And you've already had it. You had it in middle school. Algebra. Y equals mx plus b. It's a relationship. That's a bivariate analysis. Whether that x variable is age or weight or height, or the presence or absence of a comorbidity, to the y, an outcome. Death, some adverse event. Then eventually evolve into multivariable analyses. I'll show you how to do this. It's very easy. We do this in very small steps, plus all these other listings that I have there. And then finally, we're into writing our manuscript, which is actually an ongoing process. It's very easy because the introduction and methods are done, because we submitted those for IRB approval. And then the results are basically based upon our statistical analysis that we've all learned at some computer modules throughout the course of your time with us. And then discussion is basically comparison of your results to what was originally found in the introduction section. And that's the construct of how to do a clinical trial. And we can do anything that you want to do. Because I believe it's my role to teach you how to do these 6 steps. Is there any questions? I do believe that Nessie exists. Thank you.